Hello folks, welcome to MSFS, and what better way to showcase the brand new 72Hz mode of the Pimax Crystal than a full flight in the Alps in the Black Square TBM 850. And well, let's be honest, at the moment, in terms of turboprops, this is the best we have. It really is a superb rendition from that team. And yeah, honestly, I cannot stop flying this thing. So at the moment, I am using 72Hz. We're going to fly from Courchevel. So first of all, let's close the door here. Now, the Black Square TBM is an absolute fantastic add-on. And, you know, it's really good value for money, simply because it gives you all of that high fidelity, study-level systems depth that we all crave in this sim, but at a very reasonable cost. It's only about £30, which I think is amazing. It's available from the Just Flight website, as I think probably the marketplace. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it really is. I mean, look at the gauges here. In the Pimax Crystal, it's absolutely gorgeous. I will say as well that there's no denying that I've been using the Quest 3 quite a bit, obviously, recently. And going back to the Crystal, it's like, oh, it's just, my mind is blown all over again. It really is amazing. I appreciate though it is an expensive headset, but thank God we have headsets like this for the flight sim genre, because it's just, it makes you realise and appreciate where the technology is going. Anyway, we're now going to start this aircraft up, prop fully forward. Just going to check to make sure the horn test is working. Yeah, that works fine. We're going to put our ignitions onto auto. Our auxiliary pump will now go to the on position. Just quickly check as well our ITT test down here. That's all working good. And I think what we'll do is we'll start the engine and make sure that we check for any hung starts and hot starts, because this does model all of those things as you'd expect. You know, the way I can describe this is it's a real TBM 850 sitting inside your computer. So we're looking for the NG now. It's rising and it's going to top out at about 17-18%. We're now going to introduce fuel into low idle. All the while checking for that ITT temperature. Make sure it's not going to shoot up and spike up or hang either. NG is rising. Once we get to about 50%. See, this is where a high-end headset like the Crystal is so important. Looking at gauges and doing things fairly realistically. Yeah, 50% is now reached. We'll take the starter off. And I think we'll go into high idle at this point. We can now switch on the Radio Master and the ethos. The AP trims. We'll put the inertial separator on. The pitot heats will stay off for now. Auxiliary fuel pump can go to the auto position. Fuel selector switch will go to the auto position. Down here is a bleeder. I'm zooming in for you guys. I don't need to do that, obviously, in the Pimax Crystal. I like how it's got climate control, and it's all modelled as well. I mean, everything's modelled on this thing. Switch on the gyros. Switch on our taxi light as well, which is that one there. Nav light. And yeah, we'll switch on the pitot heat now, I think, just to clear up those annunciator lights. And we'll get a bit of lighting in the cockpit as well, just for good measure. So yeah, we're off out of Courchevel today, and I'm going to sort of give you my impressions of what 72Hz feels like and what it actually means as well for you watching this, who's thinking probably about getting a Crystal, but perhaps you've got a 30 series graphics card and you think, well, maybe it's not quite enough juice. Well, I tell you what, that's actually now changed with the 72Hz mode. Very exciting stuff. So Courchevel in VR is always a treat. I can already see the incline there. It's crazy in VR, this is. So landing light coming on, taxi light off, and strobe on. Notice I'm doing this whilst in VR because of muscle memory. I don't need to worry about where controls are. Because I'm in a motion rig, they're always where I left them. Very, very cool. T's and P's are all looking good. Torque is rising. Holding on the brakes. Here we go. And down the ski slope we go. It's quite a feeling, that is. And look at the views as well. Amazing. Building speed very rapidly now. And off the end. Wow. That never gets old, folks. It really doesn't. So, 72 Hz mode in the Pimax Crystal. I'm so pleased Pimax have decided to do this. And in fact, at the moment, I am actually achieving 72 frames per second. But that's because I've got a 4090, of course. But what it does mean is that if you have a 30 series graphics card, then you can halve that to around 36 frames per second and it still will feel very smooth. It's obviously not going to be as good as native frames per second, but it's very, very nice and works really well. I have tried this by switching the Pimax XR switcher to half refresh rate, and I get 36 frames per second on the button. And the result means that you out there with a 30 series graphics card can now buy a Pimax Crystal. Now, for those of you who are lucky enough to own a 4090, this also means something else. If you want to, you can now use the full native resolution of the headset with eye tracking, and you will get 72 frames per second in most places in MSFS. And in DCS World, my god, you can literally whack everything on ultra and it's 72 frames per second all day long. The thing is though, I am very sensitive to lower frame rates, and I wasn't really expecting to like it, and I do notice a slight bit of strobing on the far outer edges. Well, we're getting some turbulence here. Look at the views. Yeah, I can see a little bit of flashing. But there is a way to mitigate that. I personally feel that the Pimax interface for the 8KX is more comfortable for the Crystal. It does mean you get a little bit less field of view, but it's still better than Aero. And the upshot is that far outer sort of region where it's a little bit flashy, you can't see anymore because the facial interface is there. So that is definitely something that I would recommend if you are a bit susceptible to 72 Hz mode. I will say though that for fast-paced stuff, because believe it or not, I have now tried a race sim and Half-Life Alyx with the Pimax Crystal. It's absolutely crazy good. But at 72 Hz, I do feel a little bit of motion. Now for me, that's not so much of an issue. I don't mind that so much, but it might be a problem for you, because bear in mind, the lower the refresh rate, it can induce a bit of nausea. But overall, I'm absolutely really surprised by the refresh rate option and how well it does work, especially as it's in beta at the moment, of the Crystal. The fact that they've given us flight simmers this option means they do care about us, and I do appreciate that they've given that option. I really hope that maybe Vario might think about doing it as well. As I say, I'm not usually a fan of 72 Hz, and in fact, 72 Hz in the Quest 2, I haven't tried it in the Quest 3, I hated it. It was very flashy and stroby across most of the image. But in the Crystal, for whatever reason, it's only just at the far outer edges for me personally, and it feels fine. I'm using it right now, guys, and I find it's okay. Now, for me personally, I will be going back to 90 Hz because I prefer it, but it does mean that this headset is now available to a wider range of people, with even those who have a 30 series graphics card. Because, the 30 series graphics cards, the 3080, 3080 Ti and 3070 Ti are really great cards. They still are. But, the 40 series, particularly the 4090, is such a massive leap in performance, guys. It really is. That's why I kind of regard the 30 series cards as not low end at all. They're not, but in terms of performance difference, it's about 100% difference in performance. So anyway, back to the Black Square TBM. We're going to drop the prop down now to a little lower. I like doing that. Steve-O does that in the real aircraft. It just makes the sound a bit more bearable in the cabin. We are intercepting our course. And to be honest, yeah, I think what we'll do is, I'm quite happy with this altitude, so we'll stay here and go into nav mode. Your damper on. We'll take the inertial separator off now, and we'll go into 850 mode, which will mean we've got more torque available to us, providing that we're not ITT limited. So keep an eye on those gauges, guys. My engine condition, I've got 20 hours in this now, not in this particular model, but 20 hours overall, and I've got my condition of my engine at 100%, and that feels so good. Knowing that I'm doing things fairly realistically is a very rewarding experience. So if you haven't bought this TBM 850 yet, just tell me why in the comments, because this is absolute pure aviation heaven. Especially for us flight simmers, it's fantastic. Just those Alps in this sim look amazing, and the Pimax Crystal continues to be, without question, the most amazing visual treat for the eyes that you could ever wish for. And honestly, I know I've just said it before, and I don't mean to rub it in, because I think the Quest 3 is a fantastic headset. I actually do really like it. But when going back to the Crystal, it's an insane difference. Like, it's massive difference in visual fidelity. You know, a DisplayPort connection, it's so sharp and crisp. It's really, really amazing. So, looking good. We're about 70 minutes out. We can go a little bit more on the torque here. And yeah, everything is looking good. Fuel pressure is good. It's such a nice place to be, and especially with these DMAS speakers, it's just, yeah, I really love this headset, folks. I'm sorry, I know there's lots of people out there that complain about this headset, but from a flight simmer's point of view, sat down in this motion rig, I can fly in this for at least a couple of hours before I need to take a break. And those visuals for me are everything. They just look so good in this thing. I'm so pleased we have manufacturers out there that are pushing VR the way it should be pushed. Forget your mobile chipsets and your, USB-C connections. A QLED high-resolution panel like this with the spheric lenses is just where it's at for me. Look at this TBM 850. One thing that I didn't really highlight very well in my preview video is that Black Square have completely redone the external modelling as well. So you are getting an amazing aircraft, and I've got to say the external modelling is superb. You can even see the serial numbers in the engine. That's incredible, and the VIN number or whatever it will be for an aircraft. The serial number is there, and it's absolutely fantastic. And, for me, analog gauges really do showcase what something like the Crystal can offer. It really is superb. Right, anyway, we're going to have to start descending pretty quick here. So I'm too busy yapping away, as usual. So we'll just go into vertical speed mode, and we'll go down at least 2,000 feet per minute, I think. And we'll back off on the throttle here. Look at the views here. I still can't quite believe, guys, that we can do this in our own homes. I appreciate it's expensive, but it doesn't have to be. You can do this with a Quest 3. You don't have to have a motion rig and all that kind of stuff. You still can enjoy, Microsoft Flight Simulator with an amazing aircraft like this with a Quest 3 and still have a great time. So we're going to go out of 850 mode now. Pull that torque back a little bit. We're going to put the landing light on in a moment. Need to make sure that we're below 200 knots to activate the inertial separator, which is modelled, and you will be able to break it, like break anything in this aircraft if you don't, follow the checklist properly and just take care of the aircraft. FOD will go into that engine intake. It makes you feel very differently flying an aircraft like this. It's so engaging, and it feels very rewarding when you do things correctly. This is what flight simming is all about to me. You feel free to enjoy your default birds, but, this... the amount of hours you're going to put into this, it's just crazy good value for money. Look at those views there, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, we're still, I mean, we're not going to budge from 36 frames per second, especially with my system. It's just not going to go any lower than that, which does mean that, you know, you could feasibly also up those settings. So I think if you're okay with 72 Hz mode, whether you are a 4090 owner or a 3070 Ti owner, you're going to benefit from it. But for me personally, I still prefer 90 Hz. I just feel it's a little bit more comfortable. But that's because I am a bit sensitive to lower refresh rates. So bear that in mind. But if you are looking at getting a Pimax Crystal and you want to support the channel, I do have an affiliate link in the notes below. And thank you so much to all of you who have used my affiliate link. It means so much. Because my goodness me, have I been working my ass off recently with videos. I'm going to have to take a break, you know, because it is getting a bit much, to be honest. Recording VR especially is very hard work, guys. But if you are looking at getting a Crystal, please do feel free to use my affiliated link in the description below. I think there is a discount as well. It's only a small one, but it's certainly worth it, I think. Anything off a headset is definitely worth it. So, I think we're about ready to take the autopilot off. As Steve-O once said, we don't want the aircraft to have all the fun. I'm looking at the wind. I mean, it's not too bad, so we'll make a left downwind this way. We're nearly at 200 knots. I'm going to put the inertial separator on now. And landing light can come on. See here, that's our airport. Lima, Sierra, Zulu, Alpha. So whether you do get the Pimax Flight Sim Edition, which effectively has a different faceplate and no controllers, or the regular version, it's great to know that Pimax will be adding support for the 72 Hz mode for all Pimax Crystal owners. And it does, as I say, work surprisingly well. Which is a relief, actually. Because I appreciate we don't all have crazy expensive GPUs. This is such a beautiful scene here, it really is. Fantastic. If you're wondering, by the way, I get asked this all the time, the contrails, they're from FS Traffic. Because I really do like how, with that application, you can see proper contrails, even from the ground, like you would in real life. So, our descent checklist, altimeter is on local pressure. Cabin altitude, that's not a factor for us today. Pulse lights, I suppose we can put them on. No de-icing required. Inertial separator is on. Airflow distributor as required, that's fine. Ignition on if heavy precipitation, that's fine. Fuel is fine. And auto fuel selector is on the fullest tank. Yes, they're both level. Before landing checklist, cabin lights are off. Altimeter still check, that's fine. Decision height. Actually, we can probably just put on our radar altimeter 200 feet to minimums. Inertial separator good. Prop lever, max RPM. Landing gear is going to come down. Yep, we're at 178 knots actually on the button. Autopilot disconnect and flaps under 122 knots. Roger that. Okay, so we're all good there. Landing gear is down and it is locked in place. That's something that also can fail, so you need to make sure that it's selected and indicating. As our good friend Steve-O always used to say in his beloved 850 TBM, which you'll no longer be flying anymore. What a shame. I do love his videos. It really does. Sometimes it really inspires me to do a flight, you know. So as you can imagine, with the Black Square TBM, all of the radio navigation works as intended and like the real thing, including the KNS-80, the KNS-155. The VOR needles are affected by radio transmission interference. It's just epic, this thing, it really is. Right, tell you what we're going to do. We're just going to slightly prolong our base leg, just so I can get into the flap range, because they will break as well, folks. Got to do things properly here. Lots of trim. And remember that turbo lag as well, that can catch you out. Now I'm a little bit slow. That's okay now. Yeah, I was just a little bit too aggressive on the power there, pulling it back. And we're now going to go on to finals. And flaps can now go to the landing position. Now you might be thinking my Docker Reality H2 isn't moving that much, but I can feel it moving, folks. That's the thing. I don't need a lot of movement. It's all mainly about surge. And when you move left and right like this, you can feel that. It's really, really nice. Makes a huge difference. So a little bit low on the approach here. Feeding the power in. It's quite a short runway here, so we're just going to be coming in about 85 knots or so. This 850 does tend to like to float quite a bit. I'm not sure if that's the same as the real TBM. I presume it is, since real pilots have been involved in the creation of this beautiful add-on. Short finals then. That's our decision height. Let her settle down a bit. Hold her off. Oh, I'm happy with that. That's a greaser. So there you are, folks. That's the Pimax Crystal running at 72 Hz. Overall, I think it absolutely is a winner. It means that more people can now get the Crystal and enjoy it. This has been the Black Square TBM 850. An absolute beautiful add-on for an insanely low price. And that's me for today. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I truly appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now. So that's the taxi light on, strobe off. We'll now take off the pitot heats. There we go. We'll get parked up and see what's on the lunch menu today. This is one of the default handcrafted sort of Asobo airports, by the way. It looks pretty good. I often come here for a bit of a chill flight, because that's what VR's all about in the day, folks, isn't it? Chilling, relaxing, escaping the complexities of our real life. And there we go. That will do nicely. And we'll come down here and let the passengers out. Look at that. Beautiful views. So yeah, anyway, I know I'm still doing the video after I've said goodbye, but honestly, I do truly appreciate every single one of you. I'm about 30,000 subscribers now at the time of recording, and I'm mind blown by that. So if you have got this far in the video, please just put "I'm still here," and I will reply to each and every one of you. It means a lot, it really does. Take care.